Bosnia-Herzegovina. Just over 25 years ago, a brutal war there caused nearly 2 million people to flee. Today, migrant travelers are rushing in, many fleeing war and persecution in their home countries. Bosnia is a small nation with scant resources that has seen more than 3,500 people enter illegally this year alone. Some aid agencies fear a new humanitarian crisis is developing, and the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, is appealing for international financial assistance. NewsHour Weekend Special Correspondent Malcolm Brabant has more from northwestern Bosnia near the Croatian border.
In a wood just outside the town of Bihać stands a derelict student dormitory. The building may have power and running water, but it's still an overcrowded slum. In short order, it's become a potent symbol of the 3-year migrant crisis dividing the European Union. For the 500 or so inhabitants, it's a way station on their dream-laden march towards sanctuary or greater prosperity. For opponents of immigration, it's a snapshot of a surge heading their way. For volunteers of the Bosnian Red Cross, this is simply a place of humanity.
It's very, very hard when you see all those children that are right now suffering. They don't have a decent childhood.
Spokesman Amir Draganovic.
We're trying to do our best to find them, to make them like they are at their homes.
Proximity to the long, porous border with Croatia is the reason they're here. If they can enter Croatia, they are effectively inside the European Union, where theoretically they can cross national boundaries without documents. About 200 migrants are camping in this field, 2 miles from an official crossing into Croatia. Croatia doesn't want the new arrivals, even though most intend to pass through on their way to somewhere else. Fatima has walked nearly 3,000 miles from Kandahar in Afghanistan to escape the Taliban. She didn't want to give her full name or show her face.
Condition is not good because water is not clean and food is not good and people are very cold is here in night and sleeping the place is not good and we are very difficulties in here. So please do for something the children and the pregnant women is also here and we are helpless passengers. So please, it's my request for all of European countries, do something for these people.
There are several reasons why the arrival of refugees in Bosnia-Herzegovina is significant. One is that it proves that there is now a new migrant trail to the European Union 2.5 years after it was severed at the Macedonian border and people were forced to stay in Greece. Another is that these new arrivals have become a political football. It's an election year, and left-wing Member of Parliament Maja Gasel-Razalica, once a refugee herself during the Bosnian War, says the migrants' presence is being used to whip up nationalist sentiment in a volatile and divisive campaign.
These days we have our election year in Bosnia-Herzegovina and most parties in Bosnia-Herzegovina, national parties, they misused the topic refugees because they want to stoke up all this fear through our nation, through our people. Anti-migrant
rhetoric is most trenchant in Republika Srpska, the part of Bosnia predominantly populated by Christian Orthodox ethnic Serbs. Their current leader, the Serb nationalist Milorad Dodik, is deeply suspicious that most of the new arrivals hail from Islamic countries.
Refugees or migrants can't be allowed to stay in Republika Srpska. People suggest that we are inhumane in Republika Srpska. That's not true. We're very humane, but we are trying to maintain our way of life here, and we don't want it to be jeopardized.
Dodik is campaigning to be elected in October as the Serbs' representative in Bosnia's 3-person presidency. He claims that ethnic Muslim Bosnians in the capital, Sarajevo, are encouraging the migrant influx to change the demography of the country. Latest statistics from the Bosnian authorities show that most new arrivals are from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran and Pakistan.
There's a surreptitious Sarajevo plan that is encouraging Syrians, Afghans and other Muslims to settle in the country over the next 4, 5 or 10 years. Once that's happened, they'll tell us that this is a Muslim-majority country. That's the idea. That's what Sarajevo is doing.
23 years after the Bosnian War finally ended, many in Sarajevo still remember being hungry. International generosity sustained them during the conflict, when 2 million Bosnians were displaced. Among them, these seniors who brought clothes for the migrants.
I know it's difficult for them. We were in the war too, so we know how hard it can be.
Adnan Tatarovic runs a charity which ordinarily helps impoverished Bosnians, but has now expanded its reach to sustain refugees and migrants.
We were refugees too. We were refugees in our own cities. We were refugees in Europe. People have welcomed us and shared with us the last piece of bread they had. The Bosnian people want to help, feel the obligation to help, and share with these people even the little they have at this moment, since we all know that the situation is not great in our country. But we will help in any case, as much as we can.
This family from northeastern Syria is seeking asylum. Like most other new arrivals, they spent time in Greece. The oldest man in the family, Salim Al-Fadli, says asylum would have been unthinkable in Greece.
I like to drink coffee like all the morning. I'm going to any coffee in the Greece and see people look at me like so bad and speak something. I hate it, I don't like it. But when I'm come to Bosnia, I'm going to like any shop, to any coffee shop. I'm seeing people make me smile, speak to me so good. This is important for me, this I like it.
When I filmed this scene, it was still Ramadan, when Muslims fast from dawn till dusk. The smallest children could eat, but the elder siblings did not. When the younger ones had finished, their sisters swept up even the smallest crumbs of bread for the iftar supper at sundown, when the fast could be broken. Never knowing from where the next meal comes is a migrant trail reality. The second largest group after the Syrians are from Pakistan. The majority are not refugees fleeing persecution, but economic migrants seeking a better life for themselves and their families.
All journeys are very tough. No food, no water.
We entered here and working at least 9 hours tonight, every night. And there we are sleeping now because of police problem.
Like most of the other migrants at Europe's doorstep, the Pakistanis too are Muslims, meaning that in some quarters at least, their welcome is unlikely to be a warm one. Still, Atif Nawaz hopes that his degree in electronics will enable him to find work in the European Union.
We have a financial problem in Pakistan. My mother is sick and my father is sick. It was my dream. It was my dream and come here for money.
Developments in Bosnia are being closely monitored by the UN's International Organization for Migration. Its Sarajevo representative is Peter van der Averaat.
We've seen this all over the world. You can close and you can increase the border controls, but you can never close the border. And because if people are very determined, they will find a way through. If you look at the map and you see the borders in Bosnia-Herzegovina, or even the map between Greece and Albania, you will see that it's virtually impossible to close those borders. So once people are determined to use a route, they will use it.
Many of those who found their way to Bosnia have simply followed the GPS on their phones. Others have relied on smugglers.
Here in the Balkans, there is a long tradition of smuggling of weapons, smuggling of drugs. Our understanding is that a lot of those gangs have diversified, if I can put it in that way, and now also smuggle migrants.
The refugees and migrants are trying to enter Europe through Croatia, at a time when the new government in neighbouring Italy is promising to deport unwanted migrants, and Croatia is stepping up border patrols.
60 meters after this turn, you can see in front of you. 20 meters. You're very close now. Stop there. There they are, on your right.
Croatian border police on the ground are being directed by their colleagues in a helicopter.
They're just in front of you, on the left, and on the right. There's a lot more than we could see at the beginning. There they are on your left side, and one group is in the bush.
Fatima from Afghanistan made it across the border once, but was deported by the Croats.
Croatia, this Croatia is very bad police and very bad people.
At the former student dorm in Bihać, Red Cross official Amir Draganovic fears the problems here are only just beginning.
The main problem is that all borders now are closed, and the more and more police stand on the borders, then migrants cannot cross to the Croatia and to other parts of Europe. So pretty much they are stuck here.
As word of the new route spreads to those further back on the migrant trail, more people will head this way, increasing the likelihood that this corner of Bosnia will succeed Greece as Europe's latest choke point, a place where the epic journey comes to a halt and hope is replaced by frustration and anger.